First Contact and the Galactic Academy. The vast expanse of space had always beckoned humanity, a siren call that whispered of endless possibilities and untold wonders. But for centuries, it remained just beyond our grasp, a tantalizing frontier that seemed forever out of reach. That all changed on a crisp autumn morning in 2047, when the first alien ship breached Earth's atmosphere, descending upon a wheat field in Kansas with all the fanfare of a circus coming to town. The ship, a gleaming silver construct that defied human engineering, brought with it emissaries from the Galactic Confederation, a loose alliance of spacefaring species that had been watching Earth for decades. Their arrival wasn't an invasion, but an invitation. Humanity, they declared, had finally reached a point in its technological evolution where it could join the greater galactic community. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a mixture of excitement, fear, and unbridled curiosity across the globe. Governments scrambled to form unified responses, conspiracy theorists had a field day, and the scientific community practically salivated at the prospect of advanced alien technology. Among those caught up in the whirlwind of First Contact was Dr. Ilara Chen, a brilliant young astrophysicist who had always dreamed of this moment. As one of the first humans selected to liaison with the alien delegation, Ilara found herself at the forefront of humanity's integration into the galactic stage. Dr. Chen, the alien ambassador, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin named Zixtal, addressed her. "Your species has shown remarkable potential. We believe you are ready to join the Galactic Academy." The Galactic Academy, as Ilara would soon learn, was both a center of learning and a proving ground for emerging species. It was where the best and brightest from across the galaxy came to study, compete, and determine their place in the cosmic hierarchy. "We would be honored," Ilara responded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "But I must ask, why now? Surely you've been observing Earth for some time." Zixtal's multifaceted eyes shimmered with what Ilara could only assume was amusement. "Indeed we have. But it was only recently that your kind demonstrated the necessary spark." That spark, as it turned out, was humanity's knack for thinking outside the box. Our ability to innovate in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds had caught the attention of the galactic community. They saw in us a potential that even we hadn't fully realized. Over the next 5 years, Earth underwent a transformation unlike any in its history. The influx of alien knowledge accelerated human technology by centuries. Clean energy became the norm. Diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia were eradicated, and the first human-made faster-than-light drive was constructed. But with these advancements came new challenges. The Galactic Confederation, while welcoming, was also fiercely competitive. Each species vied for resources, territory, and influence. Humanity, as the newcomers, started at the bottom of the totem pole. It was in this context that the first class of human cadets was selected to attend the Galactic Academy. Among them was Jack Harper, a former Navy SEAL with a penchant for unconventional tactics, and Zara Okoro, a child prodigy in quantum mechanics with a mischievous streak a mile wide. As their ship approached the Academy, a massive space station that orbited a binary star system, Jack couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and trepidation. "It's like something out of a sci-fi movie," he muttered, pressing his face against the viewport. Zara, busy tinkering with a device of her own invention, glanced up. "Careful there, big guy. You're fogging up the glass with your mouth breathing." Their banter was interrupted by the ship's eye. "Attention cadets, we are approaching the Galactic Academy. Please prepare for docking procedures." As the human contingent disembarked, they were met by a diverse array of alien species. Some were vaguely humanoid, others defied description. There were beings made of living crystal, gelatinous masses that communicated through color changes, and even sentient clouds of gas. An imposing figure stepped forward, General Krazik of the Vrulix, a species known for their martial prowess. His exoskeleton gleamed under the station's lights, mandibles clicking as he spoke. "Welcome. Earthlings, to the Galactic Academy. You are here because your species has shown promise, but promise alone is not enough. Here, you will be tested, challenged, and forged into warriors worthy of standing alongside the greatest in the galaxy. His gaze swept over the human cadets, lingering on Jack and Zora. Some of you may think your species' history of conflict gives you an edge. I assure you, it does not. The trials you will face here are beyond anything you have encountered on your little blue planet. Jack felt a spark of defiance ignite in his chest. He'd been underestimated before, and it had always been a mistake. Beside him, Zora's eyes gleamed with intelligence and barely contained excitement. As the general continued his speech, outlining the rigorous training and competitions that lay ahead, Jack leaned over to Zora. "Think they have any idea what they're in for?" he whispered. Zora's lips curved into a sly smile. "Not a clue, but they're about to find out." Little did the aliens know, but this unassuming group of human cadets was about to turn the Galactic Academy and the entire Confederation on its head. The underdogs had arrived, and they were ready to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. As the orientation concluded, the human cadets were led to their quarters. The living spaces were a marvel of alien architecture, adapting to the needs of various species. For the humans, it was a blend of familiar comforts and utterly foreign technology. Jack tossed his duffel onto a bed that seemed to mold itself to his body shape. "Well, this is different," he mused, poking at the responsive material. Zora was already elbow-deep in a console, her eyes wide with wonder. "Jack, you've got to see this. Their computational systems are light years ahead of ours. The quantum entanglement alone it's beautiful." "Great," Jack chuckled. "Just don't blow up the station before we get a chance to prove ourselves, all right?" As they settled in, a holographic message appeared in the center of the room. It was a schedule for the next day, a series of physical and mental assessments designed to place the cadets in appropriate training groups. "Looks like they're not wasting any time," Jack noted, studying the rigorous lineup. Zora nodded, her expression turning serious for a moment. "We can't either. You heard the general. They're expecting us to fail. We need to show them what humans are made of." Jack's face split into a grin. "Oh, we will. They think they've seen everything the galaxy has to offer. Wait until they get a load of good old human ingenuity." As lights dimmed to simulate Earth's day-night cycle, the human cadets prepared for bed, each lost in their own thoughts about the challenges that lay ahead. They were millions of light years from home, surrounded by alien species with technology beyond their wildest dreams. But they carried with them something unique, the indomitable human spirit that had seen their species through countless trials on Earth. In the silence of the alien night, a quiet determination settled over the human quarters. Tomorrow, they would begin to carve out humanity's place among the stars. The underdogs were ready to bare their teeth, and the galaxy would never be the same. The impossible challenge. The first rays of artificial sunlight filtered through the Academy's holographic windows, rousing the human cadets from their slumber. The air buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as they prepared for their first day of assessments. Jack Harper was already up, going through a series of rapid push-ups and sit-ups. His military training had ingrained in him the importance of staying sharp, especially in unfamiliar territory. Across the room, Zora Okoro sat cross-legged on her bed, eyes closed, fingers dancing in the air as she mentally worked through complex equations. "You know," Jack grunted between push-ups, "I don't think the aliens will be too impressed by your air math." Zora cracked open one eye, a smirk playing on her lips. "And I don't think they'll be handing out gold stars for how many push-ups you can do. Muscles." Their banter was interrupted by a melodic chime, followed by a holographic projection of their alien instructor, Tenra. The being's form shimmered, its features a blend of avian and reptilian characteristics. "Greetings, Earth cadets. Your assessments will begin in precisely 1 galactic standard hour. Please make your way to the central atrium for further instructions." As the projection faded, The room burst into activity. Cadets rushed to don their uniforms, sleek, form-fitting suits that seemed to enhance every movement. Jack marveled at the material, which felt like a second skin yet promised protection against a variety of environmental hazards. "Ready to show these aliens what we're made of?" he asked, adjusting his collar. Zara nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Born ready. Let's go make Earth proud." The central atrium was a marvel of alien architecture. Towering spires of crystal and metal stretched towards a ceiling that seemed to open up into the vastness of space itself. Cadets from a myriad of species milled about, some familiar from Earth's science fiction, others defying description. General Krasik stood on a raised platform, his imposing figure drawing all eyes. "Cadets," his voice boomed, needing no amplification. "Today, you face the gauntlet of Greeks. It is a challenge that has broken the will of many who came before you. It will test not just your physical prowess, but your mental acuity and adaptability." A holographic display sprang to life, showing a massive, ever-shifting maze. Sections moved, rotated, and reconfigured themselves in real time. Within the maze, holographic enemies prowled, representing various threats a galactic peacekeeper might face. "Your objective is simple," Krask continued. "Reach the center of the maze and retrieve the cosmic cube. You have 3 Earth days to complete this task. Failure to do so will result in immediate expulsion from the Academy." A murmur rippled through the crowd. 3 days for a challenge that looked like it could take weeks. Jack leaned toward Zora, keeping his voice low. "Well, they certainly don't believe in starting us off easy." Zara's mind was already racing, analyzing the maze's patterns. "There's got to be a trick to it. No way they expect us to brute force our way through in just 3 days." As the cadets were divided into species-specific groups, Jack and Zara found themselves with the rest of the human contingent. They were led to a preparation area where they were given basic supplies, nutrient packs, water purifiers, and simple tools. An alien instructor, a being composed entirely of shimmering energy, approached them. "Humans," it said, its voice a strange harmonic, "you are new to the galactic stage. Many doubt your abilities. This is your chance to prove them wrong, or prove them right." With that ominous statement, it gestured towards the entrance of the maze. As they stood at the threshold, the reality of the challenge sank in. The maze stretched out before them, a labyrinth of shifting metal and energy fields. In the distance, they could see other alien cadets entering from different points. Jack took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "All right, team. We didn't come all this way to fail at the first hurdle. Any ideas?" Zara stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the maze. "I think I see a pattern in the shifts. If we can predict the movements, we might be able to navigate more efficiently." Another cadet, a wiry young woman named Maya, spoke up. "What if we split up? Cover more ground that way?" Jack shook his head. "Too risky. We don't know what's in there. We stick together, watch each other's backs." As they debated strategy, a loud klaxon sounded, signaling the start of the challenge. With one last shared look of determination, the human cadets stepped into the maze. The first few hours were a blur of constant movement and quick decisions. The maze was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Walls would suddenly become floors, ceilings would open up into new passageways. More than once, they found themselves backtracking, narrowly avoiding dead ends that suddenly materialized. Jack's military training proved invaluable as he led the group, always on the lookout for potential threats. Zara's quick mind worked overtime, trying to decipher the logic behind the maze's shifts. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with their first real challenge. A group of holographic enemies that looked unsettlingly real. These constructs, resembling a mix of various predatory species, snarled and advanced on the human cadets. "Remember," Jack called out, falling into a defensive stance. "They're not real. But I bet they can still hurt us. Stay sharp." What followed was a frenzied battle. The holographic enemies were fast and strong, their attacks feeling all too solid. Jack's hand-to-hand combat skills came into play as he grappled with a beast twice his size. Zara, never one for direct confrontation, used her agility to dodge and weave, looking for weak points in the construct's programming. Maya proved to be a surprise, her slight frame belying incredible strength as she tackled a holographic enemy, disrupting its form. Another cadet, a burly young man named Rashid, used his bulk to great effect, creating openings for his teammates. As suddenly as it had begun, the battle was over. The holographic enemies flickered and disappeared, leaving the human cadets breathing hard but victorious. "Well," Jack panted, a grin spreading across his face, "I'd say that's round one to the underdogs." Zara nodded, her mind already racing ahead. But that was just the beginning. We got a long way to go, and not much time to do it. As they caught their breath and tended to minor injuries, the reality of their situation sank in. They had been in the maze for hours, and yet seemed no closer to the center. The cosmic cube, their ultimate goal, remained frustratingly out of reach. "We need to change our approach," Zara said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Brute force isn't going to get us through this maze in time. There's got to be a shortcut, a way to game the system." Jack nodded, trusting Zora's analytical mind. "What are you thinking?" Zara's eyes lit up with that spark of inspiration that often preceded her most brilliant ideas. "The maze is a system, right? And every system has rules, patterns. If we can figure out those patterns, we can predict where the maze will shift next." Maya finished, catching on quickly. "Exactly," Zara grinned. "But we need more data. We need to see more of the maze, faster than we can on foot." Rashid spoke up, his deep voice thoughtful. "What if we could get a bird's eye view? See the whole maze at once?" Jack's eyebrows shot up. "That's actually brilliant. But how? We can't exactly sprout wings." Zora was already rummaging through their supplies, her mind working at light speed. "Maybe we don't need wings. What we need is a drone." The other cadets looked at her in confusion. "Zara," Jack said slowly, "we don't have any drones." "Not yet," she replied with a mischievous grin. "But we got everything we need to make one." What followed was a flurry of activity as Zara directed the team in cannibalizing their equipment. Water purifiers were dismantled for their filters, nutrient packs were emptied for their lightweight containers, and even parts of their uniforms were sacrificed. Hours ticked by as they worked, always aware of the maze shifting around them. More than once they had to quickly relocate as walls threatened to separate them. But slowly, surely, Zora's creation took shape. "It's not pretty," she admitted, holding up the cobbled-together drone. "But it should fly. And more importantly, it should be able." Unconventional tactics and alien bewilderment. As Zora's makeshift drone took to the air, the human cadets held their breath. The contraption wobbled precariously, its components groaning under the strain of improvised flight. But it held together, rising above the shifting walls of the maze. "I can't believe that actually worked," Jack muttered, a mix of admiration and disbelief in his voice. Zara's fingers danced over a crude control panel fashioned from discarded tech. Her eyes gleamed with triumph as the drone's camera feed flickered to life on a small jury-rigged screen. "Believe it, muscles. Now let's see what we're really up against." The aerial view revealed the true scope of their challenge. The maze was vast, its corridors twisting and turning in patterns that defied conventional logic. But as they watched, Zora's prediction proved true. There were patterns to the chaos, subtle rhythms in the maze's movements. "Look there," Maya pointed, her keen eyes spotting something the others had missed. "That section isn't moving at all." Jack leaned in, squinting at the screen. "You're right. But why? What makes that area different?" Zara's mind raced, correlating data faster than she could verbalize. "It's not just different," she breathed, excitement coloring her voice. "It's the center. That's where the cosmic cube must be." The revelation energized the team. They had a target now, a fixed point in the ever-shifting labyrinth. But reaching it would be another matter entirely. We can't just make a beeline for it, Rashid pointed out, ever the voice of caution. The shifting corridors would tear us apart. Jack nodded, his tactical mind already formulating a plan. We need to move with the maze, not against it. Zara, can you predict the shifts? Given enough time and data, probably, she replied, her fingers never ceasing their dance across the controls. But we don't have that luxury. We need to be smarter about this. As they debated their next move, a commotion from the drone's feed caught their attention. In another section of the maze, they could see a group of alien cadets engaged in combat with holographic enemies. The aliens were powerful, their natural abilities far beyond human norms, but they were struggling against the sheer numbers of their foes. They're fighting the maze head-on, Maya observed, trying to overpower it. Jack's eyes narrowed, a plan forming. And that's exactly why they'll fail. We can't outmuscle this challenge, but maybe we can outsmart it. Over the next few hours, the human cadets put their plan into action. Using the drone as their eye in the sky, they began to move through the maze not as individuals, but as a coordinated unit. When one path closed, another would open, and they would seamlessly change direction. Zara, her mind working overtime, began to see the maze not as a physical construct, but as a complex equation. It's all about timing, she explained as they narrowly avoided being crushed by a shifting wall. The maze isn't random, it's responsive. It's reacting to our movements, trying to predict where we'll go next. So we need to be unpredictable, Jack concluded, a grin spreading across his face. Zara, you beautiful genius. Their progress was slow but steady. While other groups of aliens fought their way through countless holographic enemies, the humans often managed to slip by unnoticed, using the maze's own movements as cover. But their unconventional tactics didn't go unnoticed for long. In the control room overlooking the Gauntlet of Grix, General Krazik watched the humans' progress with growing bewilderment. What are they doing? He demanded, mandibles clicking in agitation. Where are their battles? Their feats of strength? Beside him, Zenra, the avian reptilian instructor, tilted her head in curiosity. They appear to be cooperating with the maze, General. Rather than fighting against it, they're using its patterns to their advantage. Krazik's compound eyes narrowed. Impossible. No species has ever approached the gauntlet in this manner. It defies all conventional military doctrine. Perhaps, Xenra mused, that is precisely why they're succeeding where others have failed. As the second day of the challenge dawned, the human cadets found themselves facing an unexpected obstacle, their own success. Their progress through the maze had been so efficient that they now stood at the threshold of the central chamber far ahead of schedule. I don't like this, Jack muttered, peering around a corner at the suspiciously empty corridor leading to their goal. It's too easy. Zara nodded, her usual confidence tempered by caution. Agreed. The maze has been adapting to our tactics. It won't just let us walk in. As if in response to her words, the corridor before them began to shift. What had been a straight path to the central chamber suddenly became a dizzying array of moving platforms, yawning chasms, and crackling energy fields. Well, Rashid sighed. I guess we knew it couldn't last. Maya stepped forward, her eyes scanning the chaotic scene before them. We can do this. We've come too far to give up now. Jack turned to his team, his expression serious. This is it, folks. Everything we've learned, everything we are. It all comes down to this moment. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for Earth, to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Zara met his gaze, a fierce determination in her eyes. Then let's show them what humans can do. With a collective deep breath, the human cadets stepped into the final gauntlet. What followed was a heart-stopping display of teamwork, quick thinking, and sheer human stubbornness. Jack took point, his combat training allowing him to navigate the shifting platforms with uncanny grace. Maya and Rashid worked in tandem, creating human bridges across gaps that seemed impossibly wide. And Zara, her mind working faster than ever, called out patterns and predictions, guiding her teammates through the chaos. In the control room, the alien observers watched in stunned silence. The humans moved not as individuals, but as a single, perfectly coordinated unit. Where other species had relied on brute strength or advanced technology, these newcomers to the galactic stage were succeeding through sheer adaptability and cooperation. Fascinating, Zenra murmured, her scientific curiosity overriding her initial skepticism. They're treating the entire maze as a puzzle to be solved, rather than an enemy to be defeated. General Krasik said nothing, his mandibles working silently as he struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. As the human cadets neared the central chamber, the maze seemed to redouble its efforts to stop them. Energy fields crackled to life, threatening to cut off their path. Holographic enemies materialized, more numerous and fearsome than any they had encountered before. But the humans were ready. Months of training, years of dreaming about the stars, and millennia of human evolution had prepared them for this moment. They moved as one, dodging, weaving, and outthinking every obstacle the maze threw at them. And then, suddenly, they were through. The chaos of the final gauntlet gave way to the serene stillness of the central chamber. There, floating on a pedestal of pure energy, was their prize, the cosmic cube. Jack stepped forward, his hand outstretched. As his fingers closed around the cube, a pulse of energy rippled through the entire maze. The shifting walls stilled, the holographic enemies flickered out of existence, and a profound silence fell over the gauntlet of Greeks. In the control room, alarms blared as systems registered the impossible. The challenge had been completed in less than 2 days, shattering all previous records. General Krasik stared at the monitoring screens, his compound eyes wide with disbelief. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do it?" Zenra's avian features curved into what might have been a smile. "Perhaps, General, we have all underestimated the potential of these humans." As the realization of their victory sank in, the human cadets gathered around Jack and the cosmic cube. Their faces were streaked with sweat and grime, their uniforms torn and scorched, but their eyes shone with the light of triumph. Zara, her usual composure cracking, let out a whoop of joy. "We did it. We actually did it." Rashid, his stoic demeanor giving way to a broad grin, clapped Jack on the back. "Never doubted you for a second, boss." Maya, tears of relief and pride streaming down her face, simply nodded, too overcome for words. Jack looked at each of his teammates, his chest swelling with pride. "We all did this," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Together. This isn't just a victory for us, it's a victory for all of humanity." As the central chamber began to dematerialize around them, signaling the end of the challenge, the human cadets stood tall, ready to face whatever came next. They had proven themselves not just capable of surviving in the galaxy, but of thriving, of bringing something unique and valuable to the cosmic table. The underdogs had become champions, and the galaxy would never be the same. The final push and unexpected victory. As the central chamber of the Gauntlet of Greeks dematerialized around them, the human cadets found themselves transported back to the main atrium of the Galactic Academy. The sudden shift from the chaos of the maze to the sterile, ordered environment of the atrium was jarring, to say the least. For a moment, silence reigned. The vast space, usually bustling with activity, was eerily quiet. Then, as if a dam had broken, the atrium erupted into a cacophony of alien voices. Some were raised in disbelief, others in outrage, and a very few, in grudging admiration. General Krasik strode towards the human cadets, his exoskeleton gleaming under the atrium's lights. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation that even the humans could recognize. "Impossible," he growled, looming over Jack, who still clutched the cosmic cube. No species has ever completed the gauntlet in less than 2 full cycles. Explain yourselves. Jack straightened his spine, meeting the general's compound eyes without flinching. With all due respect, sir, we simply did what we were asked to do. We retrieved the cosmic cube. Zara stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. General, if I may, the gauntlet isn't just a test of strength or combat prowess, is it? It's a test of problem-solving, of adaptability. Zenra, who had followed in Krask's wake, tilted her avian head in interest. Go on, human. What is your hypothesis? Emboldened by Xenra's encouragement, Zara continued. The maze is designed to be unbeatable by conventional means. No amount of strength or advanced technology can overcome it because it's not meant to be overcome. It's meant to be understood. A ripple of murmurs spread through the gathered aliens. Krask's mandibles stilled, his compound eyes fixed on Zara with an unreadable expression. We didn't fight the maze, Jack added, picking up Zara's thread. We worked with it. We observed its patterns, predicted its movements, and used them to our advantage. Maya chimed in, her voice steady despite the intimidating audience. It's like a dance, really. Once you learn the steps, you can move in harmony with your partner instead of stepping on each other's toes. Rashid nodded solemnly. We succeeded not because we're stronger or smarter than anyone else, but because we worked together. We combined our different skills and perspectives to see the bigger picture. The atrium fell silent once more as the aliens processed this information. It was clear from their expressions, those that had recognizable expressions, at least, that this approach had never occurred to them. Zenra was the first to break the silence. Fascinating. In all my years overseeing the gauntlet, I've never seen a species approach it quite like this. General, I believe we may need to reevaluate our assessment of human potential. Krask's mandibles worked silently for a moment before he spoke. Perhaps, he conceded, his voice a low rumble. But one success, however impressive, does not guarantee future performance. The true test is yet to come. As if on cue, a holographic display sprang to life in the center of the atrium. It showed rankings of all the species that had attempted the gauntlet, with completion times and success rates. The human entry, freshly added, sat at the very top, its completion time less than half that of the next fastest species. A collective gasp rippled through the alien crowd. This was unprecedented, unheard of, and for many, deeply unsettling. Jack turned to his team, his expression serious. All right, folks. Looks like we've stirred up the hornet's nest. Be ready for anything. No sooner had he spoken than a new voice cut through the din. Well, it seems the primitives have some tricks up their sleeves after all. The crowd parted to reveal a group of cadets from one of the more advanced species, the Joraks, known throughout the galaxy for their technological prowess and somewhat superiority complex. Their leader, a tall, silvery being named Vexlor, regarded the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. A most interesting performance. Vexlor continued, his voice a silky purr. One might almost suspect some form of deception. After all, how could a species barely out of its planetary cradle possibly outperform those who have traversed the stars for millennia? Jack felt his teammates tense beside him, ready for a confrontation. But before he could respond, another voice joined the fray. Perhaps came a raspy voice from the crowd. It is precisely because they are barely out of their planetary cradle that they succeeded where we failed. The speaker was a Nyxari, a species known for their philosophy. The speaker was a Nyxari, a species known for their philosophical bent and keen observational skills. The being glided forward, its translucent body shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. Think about it, the Nyxari continued, addressing the crowd at large. How many of us have become set in our ways, convinced that our methods are the only correct ones? These humans, unburdened by galactic preconceptions, saw the challenge with fresh eyes. Vexlor's silvery features contorted in a sneer. Are you suggesting we should emulate these newcomers? Abandon millennia of proven tactics for some primitive intuition. Not at all, the Nixari replied calmly. I'm suggesting we learn from them, as they will undoubtedly learn from us. Isn't that the very purpose of the Galactic Academy? The debate might have continued indefinitely if not for General Krask's intervention. Enough. His voice boomed, silencing the chatter. The humans have completed the gauntlet according to all established rules. Their methods, while unorthodox, cannot be faulted. He turned to face Jack and his team, his compound eyes unreadable. You have proven yourselves worthy of further training at the Academy. But make no mistake, this is merely the beginning. The challenges that lie ahead will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Jack nodded solemnly. We understand, General. We're ready for whatever comes next. As the crowd began to disperse, Tenra approached the human cadets. I must say, your performance was most illuminating. I look forward to seeing how you adapt to our more specialized training regimens. Zara's eyes lit up at the prospect. Specialized training? What kind of? But before she could finish her question, alarms began blaring throughout the atrium. Red lights flashed, and holographic displays flickered to life, showing what appeared to be a massive fleet of ships approaching the Academy. General Krask's mandibles clicked rapidly as he assessed the situation. Impossible, he muttered. The Voidborn should not have been able to penetrate our defenses so easily. The Voidborn? Jack asked, tension evident in his voice. Xenra's avian features were grim as she explained. A species from the dark spaces between galaxies. They seek to consume all in their path, and they've had their sights set on our sector for some time. But our defenses have always held them at bay. Until now. The general's voice cut through the chaos. All cadets, report to your designated safety zones immediately. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. As alien cadets rushed to comply, Jack exchanged glances with his teammates. They all knew, without saying a word, that they couldn't just hide and wait this out. General, Jack called out, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Let us help. We may not have advanced weapons or technology, but we've got experience in thinking outside the box. That's got to count for something, right? Krask regarded the humans for a long moment, his compound eyes unreadable. Finally, he gave a curt nod. Very well. Report to the command center. Let's see if your unconventional tactics can save us all. As they raced towards the command center, alarms blaring around them, Jack couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. They had come to the Galactic Academy to prove humanity's worth, to show that they belonged among the stars. Now it seemed they would have to prove it not in a controlled simulation, but in the crucible of real combat. The stakes couldn't be higher. The fate of not just the Academy, but potentially the entire sector, hung in the balance. Zara, ever the analyst, was already pulling up holographic displays of the approaching Voidborn fleet. Look at their formation, she muttered, her fingers dancing across the interface. It's unlike anything in the Academy's database. Maya leaned in, her keen eyes spotting something the others had missed. Those smaller ships, they're not in a standard attack pattern. It's almost like they're hurting something. Rashid finished, his deep voice tinged with concern. As they burst into the command center, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Alien technicians rushed back and forth, calling out reports in a dizzying array of languages. At the center of it all stood General Krask, his exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. Report, he barked as the humans approached. Jack stepped forward, quickly outlining what they had observed about the Voidborn fleet's unusual formation. To his surprise, the general listened intently, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Interesting, Krask mused. Our standard tactics assume a frontal assault. If they're trying something different, then we need to think differently too, Zara interjected, her mind racing. General, what if we could use the Academy itself as a weapon? All eyes in the command center turned to her. Even Vexilor, who had slipped in behind the humans, looked intrigued despite himself. "Explain," Krask demanded. Zara took a deep breath, then launched into her plan. It was audacious, borderline insane, and it just might work. As she spoke, laying out a strategy that combined the Academy's advanced technology with good old-fashioned human ingenuity, Jack couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. This was why humanity deserved its place among the stars, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because when backed into a corner, they could always find a way out, or make one. As the Voidborn fleet drew ever closer, the command center erupted into action. Alien technicians worked alongside human cadets, implementing Zara's plan with a speed born of desperate necessity. "It's ready," Zenra announced, her avian features set in grim determination. "On your command, General." Krask surveyed the assembled team. A motley crew of aliens and humans, united in purpose. "Initiate Operation Slingshot," he ordered. What followed was a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Academy, usually a stationary bastion of learning, became a weapon in its own right. Using principles of gravitational slingshot maneuvers combined with carefully calculated dimensional shifts, they turned the very fabric of space against the Voidborn. The invading fleet, caught off guard by tactics they had never encountered, found themselves scattered and disoriented. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and carefully laid plans crumbled in the face of human unpredictability. In the midst of the chaos, Jack and his team coordinated the defense, their experience in the gauntlet proving invaluable as they adapted on the fly to each new challenge. Hours passed in a blur of tense moments and narrow escapes. And then suddenly, it was over. The remnants of the Voidborn fleet, battered and bewildered, retreated into the dark spaces from whence they came. As the all-clear signal sounded throughout the Academy, a stunned silence fell over the command center. It was Vexilor who broke it, his silvery features contorted in an expression that might have been respect. "Well," he said, addressing the human cadets, "it seems we may have underestimated you after all." General Krask stepped forward, his compound eyes fixed on Jack and his team. "In all my years," he began, his voice gruff but tinged with something that might have been admiration, "I have never seen a defense quite like that. You have not only proven your worth as cadets, but as allies." Zenra nodded in agreement. "Indeed. I believe it's safe to say that the galaxy will be watching humanity's progress with great interest from now on." As the adrenaline of battle faded, replaced by the warm glow of victory and acceptance, Jack looked at his teammates, at Zara's brilliant smile, Maya's quiet pride, and Rashid's stoic nod of satisfaction. They had come to the Galactic Academy as underdogs, doubted and dismissed. They were leaving as heroes, having saved not just themselves, but the entire Academy and perhaps the sector beyond. More importantly, they had opened the eyes of the galactic community to humanity's potential. They were leaving as heroes, having saved not just themselves, but the entire Academy and perhaps the sector beyond. More importantly, they had opened the eyes of the galactic community to humanity's potential. As celebrations erupted around them, Jack couldn't help but think that this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, and the universe would never be the same. The underdogs had become champions, and their journey was only just beginning. Aftermath and galactic implications. In the days following the Voidborn attack, the Galactic Academy buzzed with an energy unlike anything it had experienced in centuries. The tale of the human cadets' unconventional tactics spread rapidly, growing with each retelling until it had reached nearly mythic proportions. Jack, Zara, Maya, and Rashid found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of attention. Alien cadets who had previously dismissed them now sought their insights, eager to understand the thought processes that had led to their success. "It's a bit overwhelming, isn't it?" Maya murmured as they made their way through a crowded corridor, alien eyes following their every move. Rashid nodded, his usual stoic demeanor showing cracks of discomfort. "I never thought I'd miss being underestimated." Zara, on the other hand, was in her element. Her mind raced with the possibilities unlocked by their newfound status. "Think of all we can learn now," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "And all we can teach." Jack remained cautious, ever aware of the complexities of their new position. "We need to be careful," he warned his team. "We've made quite a splash, and not everyone's going to be happy about it." His words proved prophetic. As they entered the main lecture hall for their first advanced class, they were met with a mix of awed stares and thinly veiled hostility. Vexlor, the Jorax cadet who had initially dismissed them, approached with a group of his peers. "Well, if it isn't the heroes of the hour," he said, his tone caught between grudging respect and lingering disdain. "I suppose we should thank you for saving all our exoskeletons." Jack met his gaze steadily. "We did what anyone would have done in our position. We're all in this together, aren't we?" Before Vexlor could respond, the hall fell silent as General Krazik entered, accompanied by a delegation of beings the humans had never seen before. Their forms seemed to shift and change, defying easy categorization. "Cadets," Krazik's voice boomed, "I present to you the Eternal Council, overseers of the Galactic Confederation." A ripple of awe swept through the assembled students. The Eternal Council was spoken of in whispers, their existence more legend than fact to most of the galaxy's inhabitants. One of the council members stepped forward, its form solidifying into a vaguely humanoid shape. When it spoke, its voice seemed to bypass their ears entirely, resonating directly in their minds. "We have observed the recent events with great interest," the being said, its mental voice carrying overtones of curiosity and something else. Anticipation, perhaps. "The actions of the human cadets have altered certain calculations." Zara couldn't contain herself. "Calculations? What kind of calculations?" The council member's form shimmered, and Jack had the distinct impression it was smiling, though it had no discernible face. "The grand calculus of the galaxy, young one. The ebb and flow of civilizations, the rise and fall of species. Your actions have introduced a new variable into equations long thought solved." General Krazik stepped forward, his mandibles clicking rapidly, a sign of agitation the humans had learned to recognize. "Honored Council, surely you don't mean to suggest that these newcomers could have such an impact?" Another council member spoke, its mental voice tinged with amusement. "And why not, General? Have they not already defied your expectations, overcome challenges thought insurmountable? Perhaps it is time for all of us to re-examine our assumptions." The implications of their words hung heavy in the air. Jack felt a weight settling on his shoulders, the weight of possibility, of potential, of responsibility. "What does this mean for us?" he asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil of emotions beneath the surface. "For humanity." The first council member turned its attention back to the human cadets. "It means, young ones, that your journey is far from over. You have opened a door, and now you must step through it. The galaxy awaits with all its wonders and its perils." Zara's eyes shone with the light of scientific curiosity. "You mean there's more out there? More than even the Academy knows?" "Always," the council member replied, a note of approval in its mental voice. "The universe is vast beyond imagining, and there are secrets hidden in its darkest corners. Secrets that may hold the key to challenges yet unfaced." Maya spoke up, her voice quiet but firm. "And you think we, humans, might be able to help uncover these secrets?" "We think," the second council member interjected, "that your species brings a unique perspective, a willingness to challenge established norms, to see patterns where others see only chaos. This adaptability may prove crucial in the times to come." Rashid, ever practical, asked the question that was on all their minds. "What times? What's coming?" The council members exchanged a look that seemed to convey volumes. Finally, the first one spoke again. "Change, young ones. Change on a scale the galaxy has not seen in eons. The Voidborn are but a symptom of a greater shift. Old balances are disturbed, ancient forces stir. The galaxy stands on the brink of a new era, for better or worse. General Krezk's mandibles clicked rapidly. Surely you don't mean to entrust such weighty matters to these novices? Not entirely, no, the council member reassured him. But they will play a part. As will you, General. As will all who call this galaxy home. As the weight of the council's words sank in, Jack looked at his teammates. In their eyes, he saw a mix of emotions: fear, excitement, determination. They had come to the Galactic Academy, seeking to prove humanity's worth. Now, it seemed, they would have the chance to do so on a scale they had never imagined. "We're ready," Jack said, speaking for all of them. "Whatever's coming, whatever challenges lie ahead, we'll face them, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life in the galaxy." The council members' forms shimmered with what might have been approval. "Then go forth, young ones. Learn, grow, prepare. For the trials that lie ahead will test not just your strength or your intellect, but the very essence of what it means to be sentient, to be alive in this vast, ever-changing cosmos." As the council members faded from view, leaving behind a buzz of excited and nervous chatter, Jack turned to his team. "Well, folks," he said with a wry smile, "looks like we got our work cut out for us." Zara grinned, her mind already racing with possibilities. Wouldn't have it any other way. Maya nodded, her quiet determination evident in her stance. "We've come this far. No turning back now." Rashid cracked his knuckles, a rare smile crossing his face. "Bring it on. The galaxy won't know what hit it." As they stood there, 4 humans among a sea of alien life forms, Jack felt a surge of pride and purpose. They had arrived at the Galactic Academy as underdogs, doubted and dismissed. They were leaving as pioneers, trailblazers for their species, and perhaps for a new understanding of the cosmos itself. The challenges ahead were daunting, the responsibilities heavy. But as Jack looked at his teammates, at Zora's brilliant mind, Maya's keen intuition, Rashid's unwavering strength, he knew they were ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them, ready to push the boundaries of what was thought possible. For in the end, that was the true spirit of humanity, the drive to explore, to question, to overcome. And now, that spirit would echo across the stars, heralding a new age for the galaxy and all who called it home. The underdogs had become champions, and their greatest adventures were yet to come.